the Cayman Islands.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon, and a special, fantastic Friday. Welcome to all of your listeners. This is a very special Talk Today C.I.RETRO presentation on Cayman's affinity with U.S. football from high school, college, and through to the pro NFL. And over the last 70 to 85 years, joining us in the studio is the indomitable spirit of Mr. LOXLEY Banks and some of the other program participants. And what we're going to present will be not just recorded and in studio guests in participation by some of our listeners and guests remotely via the telephone otherwise. There'll be some discussion on an upcoming 56th Super Bowl, which is going to be on Sunday. The LA Rams takes on the Cincinnati Bengals. We're going to explore in particular Cincinnati's region and its connection with Cayman. Joining us, Mr. Loxley and myself, is in the studio, Mr. Dean Clausens. And for those who may not be familiar with flag football as much, perhaps before we ask Mr. Loxley to join us, Dean, brief intro to you, and well, let's start with that. So good afternoon, man. Thank you so much for coming in and joining us this afternoon.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. So I'm been with the Flag Football Association now since 2010, ever since I was a little kid, from playing to coaching, and now I'm a logistics coordinator. I run all the referee schedules and all that stuff. So it's a lovely sport. I loved it since I got to the island and all that time now, and I hope to keep doing it for many more years.
All right. Well, it's a sport that I had played first with my nephew, but Mr. Loxley, you talk about this connection with Cayman and the U.S. in particular. Quickly, we would appreciate the notion that the Gulf ports and the seafarers, and they would take their families to ship out and eventually settle. But a lot of the sports, and perhaps basketball and baseball to a growing extent, but as I call it, American football, always seem to be that thing that for some reason we gravitate. Now, you'll help us to appreciate that affinity. So thank you so much for putting this together publicly. I apologize. You do all the heavy lifting. All I have to show up, comb my hair, and look handsome. So thank you for making it easy.
Well, before we get into the meat, we also got to do a little commercial stuff here. So we'll remind the folks that this C.I.RETRO Talk Today special presentation is being brought to you by Eats Cafe, Legends Classic Grill, and Yoshi's Sushi on the West Bay Road. Your best choice in Cayman for a great dining experience and your favorite sports viewing. They got all the big screens there. You'll see every little detail that happens. Whatever your choice might be, a nutritious breakfast, a taste-tested lunch or dinner, or a great in-between snack, or your favorite drink, it's all at Eats Cafe, Legends Classic Grill, and Yoshi Sushi. And you can call them at 943-3287 for your favorite takeout dish. This C.I.RETRO presentation is also being brought to you by the #1 Sports Shop. And at the #1 Sports Shop, you'll find all your needs for sports. #1 Sports Shop, a great selection of sporting goods from Nike to Puma, training tops, compression tops and bottoms, shoes, and even slippers for after the game, a little relaxing there also, and men and women's sports apparel. Number one sports shop, 62 Hospital Road in Georgetown. Before we move on to further, how many, I'm talking with Dean here, how many people in Cayman here do you have on the flag football roster, if we want to call it that?
So we do about 4 leagues each year. We start usually in February with our co-ed league, which sees a 12-team roster. Games played Friday nights. Starting next week, Friday the February 18th, 6:45 at Edbush. Kicks off our co-ed season that runs until the end of April. And then we start to look at our Premier League, which is the big league we have. It's the men and the women. We got about 6 teams in each, 6 women, 6 men. And they battle it out on the field, same Edbush Saturdays. And then we look to do our youth league as well in the summer. Just to give the kids a chance. And that's where it all starts, right? It starts with the kids. It starts at the foundation. And the more kids we get, the better. And after that, we look to do our mixing bowl, which is just, again, like a co-ed format. But it's just anyone who hasn't played flag football, we invite them to come out.
So how many people total involved, you think? 300, 400?
Oh, about more than that, 600 people.
About 600 people?
Yeah, 600 to 1,000 people, give it that range, like over the 4 seasons. So...
Okay, so on real football, and you guys are gonna laugh and you're gonna forgive me, but I'm not gonna step away. I just kidding. We have 11 players on the field, 1 in goal and 10 playing, and then we have a bench and there's a first 11 and so on. With flag football and with American football, is it the same amount of players on each team initially, and on the field, or how many players on flag and how many on American football?
So we were not exactly, because American football it'll be 11 on 11, but with flag football with different leagues. So the co-ed league we have 5-on-5. So it's we have 3 men and 2 women, and then they can have so that's 5 players on, and then they can have up to 5 substitutes. So about 10, 11 people on the total roster. So you can have substitutes, and with the Premier League we're doing 8-on-8. Okay. So it's 8-on-8 with substitutions as well.
And with the Premier 8-on-8.
Premier 8-on-8 and kids ranges.
Where do you usually play these games?
Most of the seasons played at Edbush in West Bay. With the kids league being played at Commander Bay.
And most of Saturdays, right?
Mostly Saturdays. The co-ed is Friday nights.
Yeah.
So.
You speak in co-ed now. You've got ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, yes. So it's men and women combined together. It's kind of like a corporate league. All the corporate sponsors get a chance to come in.
Are there any restrictions as to tackling and
flag
blocking?
No, unfortunately, you just pull the flag. There's no tackling. I mean, we have some players who used to play rugby who come in to play flag football in their first season. They do a tackle and they're like, and everyone's like, oh, you can't do that. And then a penalty mark is thrown in, like, oh, why are you throwing the flag? What did I do? And I'm like, you tackled the guy.
Right.
Well, in the American football real world, there was a coach by the name of Woody Hayes who coached the Ohio State Buckeyes for a long time. He was a long-time coach. And one time, on the sidelines, his team was on offense, and the other team intercepted the ball. And he was running down the sideline. And Woody Hayes tackled him. Tackled him from sideline to the coach.
My goodness.
and that is they've got because back in those days they always shot some film of it, and they've got the film of it. I've seen it a couple times. So
there's been a couple cheeky moves in the NFL too. Mike Tomlin, coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, remember the time where a similar play happened and he stuck his leg out. Tried to trip the player.
Then there was the inflation gate, or whatever they call it.
Deflate gate.
Deflate gate, and all.
Leave it to the media.
All of this kind of stuff, It's but needless to say that flag football, which is just another version of U.S. football, is big here in Quebec.
Oh, absolutely! It's very big, and it was founded quite a while ago. So, from there it's just grown and grown and grown to a sport where, if you don't like the full tackling aspect of it, it's a great way to get out, get active, and be healthy.
So, Go ahead, sir. I was going to ask because I mean, like I credit my father for introducing sports to us. Even though, other than probably sailing and those types of things, he probably weren't, active involved in sports. And well, boxing. I mean, that's probably not a sport. That's probably like something we elevate to, the heavens amongst the gods. But he always saw the benefit of being active. So for those who look at American football and flag football, some of the salient differences. We know with flag, you literally pull, there's no tackle. With American football, is it the same as, one team is, I don't know what they call it, offense instead of an offense, but it's a different, and everyone's on, the defensive side, being switched out. Are there any major differences between the play?
Honestly, it's pretty much identical, other than the tackling aspect of it, where you can't tackle. If you do try and prevent someone, then it's a penalty as well.
Interference
flag guarding. But other than that, most of the rules stay the same. The only difference is, with the exception of the Premier League, we don't do field goals, or extra point kicks. So, but in the Premier League we do. But in the co-ed league with the mix, we throw for one or you throw for two. So you don't really kick. And there's no kickoffs as well. So the ball. So once the team scores, the other team will get possession of the ball on the 10-yard line instead of kicking.
All right.
You mentioned field goals, and in fact, we got a segment coming up later in the program. You've heard the name Morten Andersen?
I'm going to go ahead and say that was pretty much before my time.
Okay, yeah. All right. Well,
he's on the 5.
He was from Denmark, and he came over to the U.S. when he was, I think, 15 years old. And he became, at one time, the leading scorer in NFL. He was a kicker.
Oh, wow.
And it's a short segment, and it will give you I think it's an inspirational piece of someone trying to do something and rising to great heights. But I think we probably got to go to commercials here, and when we come back, we'll bring you that first recorded segment that was done some way back with some of the Caymanians who played high-level football in the U.S.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Subway makes it easy for you to stay on top of your health and wellness goals with our Fresh Fit menu options. Choose from 5 Fresh Fit Subway sandwiches with only 450 calories or less per 6-inch sub. Turkey breast, veggie, oven-roasted chicken, Black Forest ham, sweet onion chicken teriyaki, or make your 6-inch Fresh Fit sub into a salad or wrap prepared with fresh vegetables. For a full menu and nutritional information, visit subway.ky. Subway. Eat fresh.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne EBANKS.
And we're back. Just a reminder here that this special presentation of C.I.RETRO Talk Today is being brought to you by the #1 sports shop. A great selection for all your training needs. And also by Eats Cafe, Legends Classic Grill, and Yossi Shusi, where you can get a really delicious meal at affordable prices. And we're going to move on now. We got a segment coming up here, a recorded segment, as we mentioned before, some years back, with some of the folks who played football in the States, and some of the folks around here who have been, super fans for a long time. And this segment will involve the late Raul Smith, and also former cabinet member Ralston Anglin, and Amaris Smith of the flag football operation. I'm not sure whether she's still there, but she was, big in the operation before. So, Sue, if we can get that segment up, here we go. In this CI Retro, we will endeavor to paint you a word picture of the 56-year history of the Super Bowl, which is being played on Sunday between the Los Angeles Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals. And Cayman's affinity to U.S.-style football and Caymanians' participation in the game over the years. To help us paint that picture, we have with us in the studio U.S. football connoisseurs, former CI cabinet member, and I think still has the honorable before his name, Mr. Ralston Anglin. Raleigh, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We know that you're a football connoisseur from out in the Midwest, I guess, huh?
Well, my affinity started from my early days in Tampa with my family there. Hence the reason I'm a Buccaneers fan.
Well, you're a Buck and a Buckeye.
That's right.
Double Buck there. Also in the studio with us, we have Mr. Raul Smith, former U.S. Marine and former Edison Red Raiders player. Edison, one of Florida's most successful and storied high school football programs. And I believe you played on the defense, Raul?
Actually, I played offense.
Offense?
Yeah, offensive guard. And I also played for where I got started was the boys club. And I played service ball, 8-man ball with Cherry Point, North Carolina.
So you actually started out, I guess, about 7 years old, 6 years old?
Seventh grade. We started playing. I went with organized football, so 7th grade, yeah.
I believe you played with a gentleman that is in boys' club that was called the Cuban Comet, Carlos.
Actually, no. I played at Edison. I had the honor of playing with Pete Athos. He was the defensive back. He went on to play with the Giants. And he had about 5 or 6 years with them and some other teams.
Okay, well, we'll talk a bit about your whole experience, because you came up through the ranks. And also with us, well, we couldn't leave the ladies out. We have a representative from the Flag Football Association here in the Cayman Islands, Amaris Smith. Welcome, Amaris.
Welcome, thank you.
And you play flag football here in Cayman.
I do. I am the defensive end on the women's national football team, which we go away every January and July. And I also play for the summer league, which will be starting in May. I am the cornerback on the Killer Bees team.
What? Do you mean you play both ways here?
I do. I do. I'm very versatile. My coaches make me not settle in one position. You need to know all. You never know when you need it.
Well, have you heard of the deacon slap?
I have not.
No, we're all telling about the deacon slap in Deacon Jones in
back in the day.
LA.
Yeah, the Rams had I guess he's a Hall of Fame
Deacon
defensive tackle
Jones,
called
Deacon
Jones, and he's the one that started with the face slap. He'd just hit you in the helmet, knock it one way, your head one way, and your body go the other way. That's what happened. That's why they had to change the rule to the head slap, because it was injuring too many guys.
He had his way once he slapped you, because you hit somebody in the air, it kind of and that was his ploy, and he was an all-star, all-pro, and I think he's in the
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame, yeah. That's he played for the LA Rams for a long time.
For a long time.
This CI Retro is being brought to you by Eats Cafe, Legends Classic Grill, and Yossi Shushi, three of Cayman's favorites for your dining out pleasure. CI Retro, as we said, giving you a bird's eye view of Cayman's affinity to U.S. football and some U.S. football talk. On our CI Retro, that is, Cayman Islands, Cayman's affinity with U.S. football, we know for certain that it goes as far back as the early 40s. In the 1940s, when Tom Parsons was playing out there in Texas, Tom went on to be a starting star defensive tackle with the powerful Rice University teams in the 1940-50 era. It is believed that the first U.S.-style football to hit Cayman, turf, we use it turf, we might say the old football field at the town hall field where the grass was, I guess, a foot and a half high, or right there at the Pilgrim Holiness Church when they had that old field. In fact, that field is still there in back of Pilgrim Holiness Church.
It is.
Yeah. And I was talking with Spuggy Glidden. He brought up what we believe to be the first U.S. football to hit Cayman soil. He was down in Swan Island, and Swan Island at that time was administered by the U.S. actually, and with Cayman administrators. And they played some football down there, and he brought this football up. And I have vivid memories of us trying to kick that thing around on the field and not being able to control it.
Would have been difficult compared to a real football.
Yes, and sometimes it got buried in it because it was. I remember sometimes the grass on Town Hall Field was foot and a half high,
right?
Because those days they had to chop it down on the sheet
by hand. Yes.
So it was quite a chore to try dealing with that football. And I tell you another little bit here. When I went to school in Florida in 1954, in fact it was during the month of February, and we were playing some football, high school football then. Coach, and I'll never forget his name, Coach Lepore, handed me a football. And, well, the first thing I did, I laid a foot into it. Kicked it, 50 yards down the field. And he said, "Boy, you got a leg." And immediately he wanted me to go and see Coach French, which was the iconic coach of Miami-Jackson High School. But it never really had any appeal to me at that time. I was more interested in cars. so football kind of went aside and 51 forward. Yeah. And we pick up again where Spuggy bought this football up from Swan Island. I think it was either a white or a brown ball. I can't, as I remember right, it was shaped a little different from today's football because the older footballs had more of a rounded point on it, In fact, it probably was a little bigger, but we could never get control of it. So football never really took off in Cayman at that time, but that was probably within the 46 or 47 era. But thinking back, I would believe that with the U.S. base being here in the 42, 43 era, down behind the library, that they might have had a U.S. football somewhere between those buildings down there. It's a good, but I've not been able to come up with any proof that they did have one, but I got a feeling that they did. We'll talk CI affinity to the U.S. football and Super Bowl when we come back after you hear these messages. CI Retro is being brought to you by Eats Cafe, Legends Classic Grill, and Yoshi Sushi for a taste-tested grand dining experience. Eats Cafe, Legends Classic Grill, and Yoshi Sushi, located in the Cayman Falls Center on the West Bay Road, offering you Cayman's best choice for a great dining experience. Whatever your taste choice might be, a hearty breakfast, a delicious healthy lunch, a scrumptious evening dinner, or a light taste-tested in-between snack, it's all there at Eats Cafe, Legends Classic Grill, and Yoshi Sushi, all at exceptionally pocketbook-friendly prices in comfortable, happy surroundings. For the sports fan, NBA, NHL, Premier League, there's the multi-big screen televisions to watch your favorite team win. Eats Cafe, Legends Classic Grill, and Yoshi Sushi, Cayman's family-friendly dining favorite location. And this CI Retro Talk Today special presentation is also being brought to you by the #1 sports shop, You can visit them for all your sports training needs. They've got a big supply of anything sports there. They're on Hospital Road. 65, I think, is the number, or 62 Hospital Road. So visit them soon for all of your sporting needs. And, in that segment, we heard a little bit about, the Caymans probably, and I say it, I think it was probably the first time anybody out here saw, or, here on the island, saw an American football. And it was quite a, and we mentioned that, we had to play on the town hall field with grass, 6 inches, anywhere from 6 inches to 18 inches high. And now, just the other evening, I noticed what I believe, I have not heard any news on it, but that they may be putting in an artificial field on it. Do you?
I haven't heard any official, but like you, I've seen it a couple of times, and you've seen the guys taking up the grass and very diligently and meticulously, making this
foundation.
Yeah, very, very level. I saw a fellow rolling around, so he was checking it out. But you contrast that probably, likewise with us, even for Sports Day. And we had this little thing that, I don't know what the grass called, the crabgrass. You would tie the little knots in it so when the guy running, you get an advantage.
Yeah. But, and talking about sports in the West Bay playing field, we sent out an invitation for somebody from the sports section to join us here, but we've not, they're not here, so.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we did get one apology. Schedules being what they are, even tonight to play sports, we have sometimes conflicting schedules sometimes and demands. But you talk about the American football, and basically, to my, at that point, on train, it was an egg-shaped football.
Oh yeah.
And so here we were. The first time I saw it, we saw this thing and we thought, oh, there's a guy waiting for his mother to pick him up, and he sat on his football and it's egg-shaped. So there we were trying to put this thing back to round, and we couldn't. And then later on, there were a few of, summers, friends and extended family come down and you wanted to play football. So we would go to play football, and then, no, I won't play football. And therein lied the argument, well, this is football. No, this is football. And the guy started to sit on the football to make it egg-shaped, to take a real football to play American football. So I can imagine you taking the American football to play real football, us trying to go the other way with it.
That must be difficult.
Well, coming up on Sunday, one of the, it's rival with the world, with the
Real Football World Cup.
Yeah, the Real Football World Cup. Great spectator sports coming up between you mentioned before, the Los Angeles Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals, and we mentioned the affinity that Cayman, or somewhat affinity that Cayman has with even the Cincinnati region. And many years ago, and this was we can go back to the 40s and I guess late 30s, WCKY in Cincinnati, one of the what was called then the Clear Channel radio stations. And a Clear Channel radio station back in those days was designated a special frequency, and nobody or no entity in the whole Western Hemisphere could occupy that frequency. So it was called, it was probably maybe 5 or 6 Clear Channel stations in the U.S. and Cincinnati. Don't remember the AM frequency. I think it was in the mid frequency, but WCKY Cincinnati was heavily listened to down here in Cayman. I mean, I would say that at that time, 80%, 90% of the radios that was on the island in the evening and early morning, because they had some real early morning interesting programs, were tuned to WCKY Cincinnati.
And that wasn't WKRP, right?
No, that wasn't WKRP. No.
For those listening, what is he talking about? So he sure is.
Yeah, and the other sort of affinity, it's in a region I think where a lot of Caymanians have gone to college, gone to school up there in the Cincinnati, and part of Ohio and even Pennsylvania, all that Midwest kind of triangular circuit there. Went to school up there. Plus, and we just learned this just recently. One of Cayman's biggest tourism accommodation facilities. When they first started that facility, and everybody knows who the biggest one is up on the east end there. Their sales approach headquartered was in Cincinnati. So Cincinnati, a lot of really regional affinity to Cayman.
A lot of history with Cayman too.
And this is where I think, and I'm mindful, I'm always interested in how societies evolve and the connections that they have, and Cayman being what it is and where it is. I always thought Mr. LOXLEY made us particularly unique. If you think back to the early days of seafaring and you look at the bigger surrounding islands, probably easier to navigate to them. But coming to Cayman, the maps of the day we've discovered weren't accurate. Some were deliberately, not accurate to kind of keep it a prized possession. To come here, you must know where you're going, right? Unless you happen to just... And then to think of where the rest of the Caribbean may have gravitated towards either Canada or the UK or even further afield, Cayman tended to go to the US primarily from the very, very early days. Now, still the same thing, education and other reasons. And we see that affinity. We see the ease with which we use the terminology. We play the sports. We go back and forth as if we were driving from West Bay to Georgetown.
And, the name Tom Parson came up a while ago.
Yeah.
He was a son. Was his father a seaman? I know his grandfather was, so his father might not have been a seaman, but his grandfather, Sam Parsons, he was a famous captain down there for the Texaco tanker fleet. In fact, and recently I learned, he commanded a lot of the convoys across the Atlantic during the war. So, and then there was another Caymanian captain in the Port Arthur area, Howell. Well, he was Howell Ebanks, but he changed his name from Ebanks to Howell. So, but his son was a big. I think he played for Southern Methodist SMU. Big football player and Army.
Yeah.
So a lot of affinity to and some of the future segments that we got here, you'll hear names like Donnie Bowden and Panton that was played real high level football in the U.S.
And we still see not.
I suppose how long you been in Cayman, you said?
Yeah, about 14 years now.
You had no concept of that?
No.
And Susan saying we need a break, sir. I don't know if she means bringing in a chocolate break. Susan, what's this?
Well, if we need to make some money, let's take a break.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Thinking of getting a hybrid but don't know much about them? Vamp Motors has 3 great reasons why you should own the Toyota C.HR. Hybrid save fuel, run cleaner, reduce CO2 emissions, and even recharge their batteries while being driven. So there's no need to plug in a hybrid, making it both economical and fun to drive. And you don't have to replace your battery every 2 years. The C.HR Hybrid is reliable, providing up to 1 million kilometers on the same battery and engine. Oh, and now you can save $2,000 off the Toyota C.HR, starting at only $33,500.
That's way more than 3 reasons.
True, but the best one is that it's on sale now. Test drive the Toyota C.HR today at Vamp Motors, Walkers Road, while stocks last.
CUC advises customers on Water Key Road in Cayman Kai that they will experience interruptions to their electrical service on Tuesday, February 15th between 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Areas affected include all of Water Key Road and Finger Key. Motorists are asked to drive with caution when utilizing Water Key Road, as CUC will have a number of vehicles and personnel in the area and will be required to temporarily block one lane on sections of this road. CUC apologizes for this interruption, which is necessary to facilitate required overhead infrastructure upgrades to provide our customers with safe, reliable, and efficient power. For more information on the outage, please contact CUC's customer service team at 949-5200 or email service@cuc.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne EBANKS.
And we'll remind you, along with this commercial segment, that this special presentation of C.I.RETRO Talk Today on Cayman's affinity to U.S. football is being brought to you by the #1 sports shop. A great selection of sporting goods for all of your sporting needs. And by Eats Cafe, Yossi Sushi, and Legends Classic Grill. Now, flag football, that we know we established it's big operation here in Cayman. Are you pretty well balanced as far as male and female, or is it overburdened with males?
We initially it was overburdened by males, obviously, because it is a male dominant sport. But what we love seeing now is that more and more females are taking it up, more and more are coming out to play and register. And as an organization and personally, I love that, because we wanna see that. We want everyone to be a part of the sport, no matter who you are, no matter how young you are. We want to get people involved in flag football.
Well, and I think coming up in one of the segments, there's a little segment on how that whole flag football operation got started. And Ralston Anglin, he was, I think, big in the initial startup of him and Cumber, Marcus Cumber, and there were a couple of other guys. I believe Marcus is still somewhat involved with it.
Oh yeah, Marcus is definitely still involved. Him and then George as well, Teddy.
Yes,
him and, from what I know, was him and Marcus who, I guess they just struck up a genius idea of finding a flag football, being like, well, it's American footballs, yeah, let's bring down our version of it, and rest is history. And I thank them for doing that, because it's really grown into a phenomenal sport on the island. And
it's great for the young folks. I think someday you're going to see a Caymanian up there in the NFL, doing great things.
Absolutely.
But it don't seem to me, what I see on the surface, that there's much emphasis being put on maybe that path forward for sports enthusiasts here in Cayman.
Yeah, no, it's there's just, I think that sports department, they know, there's a lot of focus on football. I refuse to call it soccer. I'm not calling it soccer.
You can't call it that.
I am not calling it soccer. I'm calling it football.
That's why we get involved football.
So that's why it's American football and football. But there proper football, I think that it's a dominant sport in the world. It always will be.
Mm-hmm.
But we just we want to see flag football. I mean, they just recently said that flag football is going to be a part of the World Games in 2023. So that's a huge step. And hopefully with that now, we can see more emphasis shown on flag football on Ireland, and maybe given it more of a push by sports department to see, okay, well, because there's room. I mean, in the NFL, I see players. I think there was a player with the last name Bodden, and I'm like, wait, is he Caymanian? Is he Caymanian? And I was like, he wasn't.
Likely, you got some connection.
But you see, this as I listen to you, I think back with great pride, not just to the discussion the other day, but to see Aaron Jarvis, for instance, a family, extended family, and a community's commitment to nurturing, supporting, encouraging. And here he is, coming as Gulf now. Is he the next Jack Nicklaus? Greg Norman, perhaps, right? But he's paving a way that maybe after him there'll be others, just like in football, in other sports. I say this carefully because I don't mind being political. What I don't want it to be is the place where it's divisive and we get caught up into, but you shouldn't say that. But if you look at the sports that we play in Cayman, whether as a country we have focused sports as a priority or whether we're playing sports, you reminded us, Mr. Loxley, of marbles and they going into the US, into Florida, and being a national marble champion. Now, will there be a World Games or a World Cup of marbles or marbles being played in the Olympics? I don't know, probably not. But we're seeing more and more sports becoming part of the Olympic sort of menu. But even from the Cayman perspective, if we play football or golf or something else that gives that child another avenue to explore potential and develop a talent, another avenue to potentially gain scholarship to get off to further academic instruction or to fulfill something within that person. Why relegate ourselves to playing, one sport or only one sport for those people? Well, and it's in the national community.
You mentioned marble championship. Yeah. And that was a gentleman, in fact, he just passed away within the last 6 months. Victor EBANKS, who learned his marble skills right down there in that little triangle. If you know where the Alfresco's restaurant is at, where the roads converge, Mary Molly Road and West Bay Road converge. There's a little triangle there. That's where he learned his marble skills, and he left here at age, I think he told me he was 10 or 11 years old. And of course, when he went into Tampa, he got involved in the YMCA program, and they had, they were, and I'm not sure whether they still operate the Marble Championship Series, but it was under their umbrella then. And he advanced to the state championship level, playing marbles.
Marbles. And now how many play marbles?
I don't know. I don't know if I've seen a marble in the last 10 years.
I think in my attempt at a joke, maybe two members are losing on marbles. Acting like we have enough marbles.
Well, I think it's at news time. Hopefully it's there. And news for you now on C.I.RETRO Talk Today, special presentation.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Public Health Department adds COVID vaccine clinics for vulnerable children ages 5 to 11. For the first dose, it is offered from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. in the Public Health Clinic at the Cayman Islands Hospital on Saturday, February 12th, Saturday, February 26th, and Saturday, March 12th. In international news, U.S. President Joe Biden has called on all American citizens remaining in Ukraine to leave the country immediately, citing increased threats of Russian military action. Mr. Biden said he would not send troops to rescue Americans if Moscow invades Ukraine. Kamila Valieva, the 15-year-old Russian figure skating star who helped her team win Winter Olympic gold in Beijing, failed a drugs test in December. Valieva had a sample collected on December 25th at the Russian Figure Skating Championships in St. Petersburg, but the positive result was only reported on Tuesday, the day after she helped to win Team Gold, but before the medal ceremony had taken place. Valieva tested positive for a drug on the banned list because it is classed as a cardiac metabolic modulator and has been proven to improve physical efficiency. Jeremiah Harris, one of the stars of the Netflix documentary series Cheer, has pleaded guilty in a federal sex abuse case against him. Harris admitted to receiving child pornography and traveling to another state with the intent to engage in illicit sexual conduct. The guilty plea came as part of a deal to avoid prosecution for 5 other federal charges against him. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
As with much of history, historical facts tend to be passed along via the older folks and stories. One of the fullest early accounts of the settlement of Cayman Brac was given by H.W. Rutty, J.P., in 1908, which was gathered from the oldest residents. The first settlements were made in 1833, when 3 families bearing the names Rich, Foster, and Scott from Grand Cayman went to the Brac. Although others came from Grand Cayman and Jamaica, the present population in 1908 was composed of descendants of those 3 first families. Of the traditional founding families, the Fosters and Ryans have the fullest genealogical and oral records.
Information from this historical vignette was sourced from Founded Upon the Seas, A History of the Cayman Islands and Their People by Michael Creighton and the New History Committee.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Mommy, Daddy, Anna, Uncle, please go get your COVID-19 booster shot and take care of yourself. You're the reason I got vaccinated.
You must practice social distancing and proper hand hygiene and never forget your mask. Help me, help you. Get your COVID-19 booster shot and take care of conditions that make you vulnerable. Get boosted. We're in this together.
Visit www.gov.ky/coronavirus to learn more.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne EBANKS.
And we're back after news time, and you're listening to C.I.RETRO's Talk Today special presentation on the affinity of U.S. football to Cayman, or Cayman to U.S. football. Being brought to you by Eats Cafe, Yossi Sushi, and Legends Classic Grill. Also, the #1 sports shop. And you can visit the #1 sports shop for all your training needs. They've got a grand array of everything there that you would need to help you excel in whatever sports line that your endeavors. And we move on. In this segment, you'll hear more about Cayman's affinity to U.S. football, and there will be some names that will come up in this segment that well, you'll probably be familiar with. I think same folks will be joining us, Raleigh and the late Rawl Smith, and we'll have Donnie Bodden doing some comments, and some other folks. So let's join them. Sue? And we're back, as we promised. Cayman Islands affinity with U.S. football style. This is C.I.RETRO. We mentioned that Tom Parsons played with the Rice University team back in the, I think it would be the late 40s, early 50s, and his parents was from West Bay. Their old home was, and you might have, Raleigh, you might have been to you went to Mississippi school?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, well, that,
absolutely.
Yeah, that was their home.
Okay.
Right there. And I think he might have had a brother that also played out there. Also, MacArthur Frankton, who would have been right next door. He played, I believe it was for Chamberlain, I think it was Chamberlain High School in Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
And University of Florida recruited him. He was slated to be a big-time back at the University of Florida. And sadly, tragically, he got killed in a car accident, I think, in his beginning of his probably sophomore year. And he was some football player, as we said. And then, we hope to connect up with Donnie Bawden, who played high school football in the mid-'60s, and Raul, I believe you might have played against Donnie.
Yeah, he was a senior, and I was a junior. And, of course, Miami High beat us, as usual.
Well, that was... but he played in the 1963 national championship, high school national championship game. And we're going to try to connect up with him in just a little bit, maybe the next 2 or 3 minutes. And but there's other Caymanians that have played in football in the U.S. There was Dennis Howell, EBANKS, of course. His father changed his EBANKS name to Howell. That was his second name. He played at SMU. And actually, Dennis's son, Jimmy, played for Army. And he's now an officer in the U.S. Army. In fact, I think he's probably over I know he's been to Afghanistan around there. So Cayman, a lot of affinity to the U.S. football. And there was a pattern, and I cannot remember his first name. And anybody out there that knows the first name, you could give us a call. Very recently, I think in probably the late 90s, played tight end for Florida State.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah. And then, of course, we got Raul Smith around the table here. Big-time tackle at Miami Edison.
Guard.
Guard, okay. Well, tackle guard.
A guy that did the grunt work.
Yeah, that's right. I think you were, what they call it, alternating? I mean...
Yeah, we used to run in the plays. We were what they call us alternating guards. Me and a guy named Patrick. I tell you what, you had to be in shape running around that Orange Bowl. But every play, the quarterback could change the play, but the coach would call the play, and then would come in and change. And
so all the calls were run in by you.
Yeah, no phones and stuff in their heads or headsets. But yeah, that, and I was on defense. I played middle guard, which they call now the nose guard.
Yes. But
really, my line of work was the offensive line. I love pulling a trap play, catching that defensive tackle.
Oh,
well,
we don't like you guys.
That's why your knees are really high.
Well, that's true.
We don't like you guys.
Okay, I believe that we've got Donnie on the line. Donnie, how you doing this afternoon?
Good.
Man.
I'm here in Tampa, Florida, but it's all rainy and cold.
Okay, well, it's beautiful sunshine down here, at least for a little while ago. But we're probably getting some of those, as the old people say, scuds come over from Tampa down here over the next day or two. Well, it's good to have you on our C.I.RETRO program this evening, talking about Cayman Islands' affinity to U.S. football. And tell us a little bit about your playing days at Miami High there.
I went to Miami Senior High School, and grew up in the 50s, and there was only like 4 high schools, Miami High, Coral Gables, Edison, and Jackson. There's so many now. And, with the Super Bowl coming, and the last pro football team to go undefeated was the Dolphins, 17-0. And I look back on my high school career playing football at Miami High, and we were on all 3 years of high school, we were undefeated, never lost a game. And as a senior, we were city, state, and national. And I don't think they have a national playoff today. I think USA newspaper names like what they think is the number one team.
Yes, yes.
So it was
yes.
an honor to play, and we played our games on Thursday night in the Orange Bowl. So, we would win a big game, and you'd come back to school on Friday. And it was still, pretty cool.
Well,
you didn't have the weekend to lose the thrill of winning a big game, because the University of Miami played on Friday night, and the Dolphins played on Sunday. And I often think about that when they, play a game when they said the only team was the Dolphins were 17-0, and we were undefeated. I think back in Miami when I was growing up in the 50s, sports was different. The neighborhoods were different. Everybody played together. You knew everybody's family, everything like that. And I look back on that and playing sports at the different parks and playing one neighborhood against the other neighborhood and sports, softball. I can see where we could be when we got to high school. We knew what positions we wanted to play, because growing up as kids, we played that position and we were good at it, So we kind of gelled together, I guess, going through that situation of playing sports from the time we were young in the same location in the neighborhoods and stuff like that.
Well,
knowing everybody, that it kind of helped to get that record,
Yeah, well, sports has a great disciplinary element in it, and it teaches young folks quite a bit. Raul is around the table here with us. I think you played against him at Edison.
Edison, yeah. How you doing, Raul?
Doing good, cuz.
I haven't seen you
Yeah, as they say, in a long, long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You played on Thursday night, especially Thanksgiving. The next day, I had all day to think about that after you beat us again.
Yeah, we played you guys for the state championship, didn't we?
That year, I think you played Gables, didn't you?
Yeah, it was one of them.
Yeah.
We played, the state and then the city and then the national.
Yeah,
At the time when we played for the national championship, it was the sports writers wrote up a team in California, a team in Georgia, and then a Baltimore Polytech, which was a boys' school. And that's who we played in the Orange Bowl. We beat them 21-7.
Yeah,
the write-up in the paper was Miami High plays the Baltimore Colts. Baltimore Polytech.
Yeah, back in them days, they used to bring down all these teams from Ohio and Baltimore Tech. There was that one in Ohio, the big team, Massillon, and all them, and someone out of Louisiana, and I think we got some out of Texas.
Yeah.
And they came down to Miami. And they went back crying like a bunch of babies.
Well, I heard you talking about a football player that played in for Florida State.
Yes.
I don't know his name, but that was Edsel Panton's son.
Right. Yes, I know Mr. Edsel's son. Yeah. And talking about those games in Orange Bowl, especially Miami High Gables or Miami High Edison and Jackson, because they were the big games. They'd draw 40,000, 50,000 people in the Orange Bowl.
It was unbelievable. The opposing team sat on one side, and if we played, we sat on the other side, and it was, the Orange Bowl was big. And my daughter's a teacher in Georgia, so we came down for a wedding. My Uncle Sterling his son was getting married in Miami, and I wanted to show her where I played football, but they had torn it down, the baseball stadium now, so I couldn't get there to show her where I played football.
Yeah, well, the Orange Bowl is a storied stadium, and you heard that, the Orange Bowl, a storied stadium, all torn down years ago, but many Caymanians starred within the confines. In that stadium, I think it was expanded upwards to about 90,000, could hold 90,000 people. And when these guys were playing up there, Donnie and Raul, their high school was drawing 50,000 spectators in the Orange Bowl at that time. And you think of the population of Cayman at that time was probably not more than 5,000 or 6,000 people,
if that much, right?
If that much, and 50,000 people. That's a lot of people, and these guys were, shining stars up there amongst that. In that environment, and the Orange Bowl, it's really has Well, you know, they still play the Orange Bowl game, though they play it in the Dolphin Stadium. You know, it's, but...
50,000 people didn't seem like a lot of people back then. Well, back then it seemed like a lot of people, but now if a stadium has 50,000 people in it, it's considered half full.
Yeah.
We can handle now 100,000 people. It's crazy.
But you know, those 50,000 people, or those draws when these high school games were drawing 50,000 people, that was the impetus that got people interested in bringing us a professional football team to Miami. Therefore, the Dolphins, you know, was established in Miami, I guess, in the real early 60s. In fact, you know, when they started their operation, their first year, they threw the invitation wide open. Anybody that think they can play on this team, come and join us in the Orange Bowl. And I had thoughts about it. I thought about it real hard, but I never did. Well, how old was I then? I wouldn't have been too old, but I don't think I would have wanted to.
Maybe you had a couple good years in you, a couple good seasons.
to put up with the stress.
Sort of flair.
Yeah, but it's the Orange Bowl was really, and it's a pity that they tore it down, because you know it was actually established as one of the first bowl games. You know, back those days you had the Orange Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, and there was the.
Did you have the Rose Bowl?
The Rose Bowl, yeah. They were the four big bowl games, but then you had little lesser ones, the Bluebonnet Bowl and the Gator Bowl. Gator Bowl is still going. I think the Bluebonnet Bowl evolved into what's called now the Sun Bowl. But you know, and there were Caymanians that played in all of those, you know, bowl games, all those bowls. And
so many bowl games.
Yeah, Oh, it's too many now. It's too. Yeah. But you know, it's all making a buck. That's what it's all about. You know, and that's sports all over. You know, the Major League Players Association baseball. They're now in tough negotiations, trying to see if they're going to even have a baseball season because of the dollar.
It's all revolves around the dollar now.
Yeah. And I think it's commercial time again. So, you know, Susan's got them all queued up, I'm sure.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Join the Alex Panton Foundation for our 5th annual Youth Mental Health Symposium, taking place on Saturday, 19th of February from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., featuring an impressive lineup of speakers and panels discussing our theme, Thriving in Uncertain Times. This year's event will be streamed via the Alex Panton Foundation Facebook page. Visit alexpantonfoundation.ky to learn more. Sponsored in part by Dart, 3T, Burger King, Popeyes, Tower, and Compass Media.
Shoe love is true love. And with the Valentine's Week sale on at Le Classique, we're sure you'll find your soulmate. 10, 20, 30, 40, up to 50% off all shoes for men and women. Le Classique in the Strand today through February 19th. Find the perfect shoe fit for you. 10, 20, 30, 40, up to 50% off all shoes. Le Classique in the Strand, open 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Sale on now through Saturday, February 19th. Shoe love is true love. Le Classique in the Strand. Happy Valentine's.
How can you take your business from good to great and thrive in the new normal? By finding the smartest, most powerful IT solutions to optimize your business operations. And now, Digicel Business Hub is making it simple for you. High-speed Wi-Fi, mobile and office phones, IT security, Microsoft Office with Teams, and much more. Everything your business needs to level up in the new normal. Get world-class IT for your business with Digicel Business Hub. Sign up today. Call us on 623-2499 or visit our website www.digicelbusiness.com for more information. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter will be taking appointments until February 17th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited, whether you're seeking advanced skincare, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles. Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email dr.porterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That is 946-9020.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne EBANKS.
You know, before we went to commercial break, we were talking about the economics of football. And, many years ago, there was a really successful and talented defensive end for the Oakland Raiders. In fact, he played in, I think, Oakland Raiders played Green Bay in the first Super Bowl. Or was it? No, they played what was then the Texans, the Dallas Texans, which later morphed into the Kansas City Chiefs. Mm-hmm. But he played in the second Super Bowl, and he came down and he visited down here. He later became a sales rep for one of the big companies. So he came down here on a sales trip, and right in the same studio, I sat with him and talked with him, and we talked about the economics of the game. And he told me, he said, when I signed, and I believe he went to he was played at one of the Minnesota colleges. When I signed my contract with the Oakland Raiders, I got a $3,000 bonus. And his basic salary, I think he told me when he signed, was about $8,000 for the season.
Wow.
And it wasn't, he probably came into the league in the late 50s. Joe Namath came in, I think, around 62, 63. His signing bonus, I think, was something like $250,000. And he told a story later. He played for Alabama. He was a successful quarterback for Alabama, and they played in the Orange Bowl. I forget who they played in the Orange Bowl, but anyway, after the game, his coach, which was Bear Bryant at the time, came to him and said, there are two teams after you, the New York Jets, and at that time, the St. Louis Cardinals. I think that's where the Cardinals was at before, St. Louis Cardinals. He said, they both want to see you. And his story was they followed him up to his room. And both team representatives started negotiating with him. He did not have any rep or agent or whatever you call it, because they didn't know. But the coach had told him, he said, you don't take anything less than what George Myra. Now, I don't know whether you know that name, but he was a very talented, successful University of Miami quarterback. The year before that, he had signed with San Francisco Giants, first rounder. They gave him $125,000. And Joe Namath told the story. He said they kept raising the level, and he said when they got to $425,000, the St. Louis people dropped out. They say, I can't go any higher than that. And the Jets say, well, 450. You got a contract with us. And that's when the economic side of the game really came up. But getting back to Ben Davidson, he told me the story, and you of course, I guess anybody following football know the name Johnny Unitas.
Of course, legend.
Yeah. He told me, he said, one time I was playing against the Baltimore Colts at the time, Johnny Unitas, and he said, on one play, I pressured him enough that he had to get rid of the ball quickly. He said, and I thought to myself, well, I think I can get to this guy. He said, on the next play, I was determined to get to Johnny. And he said, before I got anywhere near him, he had threw a 60-yard touchdown pass to, I think it was Raymond Burr or one of the other receivers on the Baltimore Colts. So it's and I'm sure that should be around here in the archives and the whole. I sat down with him for an hour, and he just wanted to talk about NFL football.
Football.
Mr. Loxley, as I finally been able now to access this message, and the second one came through relative to the notion of what we're talking about. The first part of it, I'll come back to, but the second one, we're talking about the economics, and we were referencing the football at a high school level, and you're talking a stadium of 50,000. This is what, the 50s, 60s even, right? And you get a football being played at high school level. Now, many of us would appreciate high school and college sport. We're just drawn to it. We think it's probably as good, if not better, than the professional aspect of it. So this person is weighing in and saying, is it the money that is their words? And I tend to concur with that question. Is that what is devaluing the enjoyment of sport? Because now the players, as well as everybody else, it's about the money, from the advertising to the...
Well, I think it is. I mean, I saw a quote just a couple of days ago, like within last week, from Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati quarterback. And he had a big gold chain hanging around his neck. And somebody asked him something, and I think his comment was, I think they asked him if it was fake.
They asked him if his necklace was real.
Yeah.
And he just had that sarcastic look on his face. And he's like, well, he said to the reporter, he's like, well, I make enough money, so I hope they're real. They should be real.
Yeah. And he probably got 2 years ago, he probably got a signing bonus of, I don't know, $20,000, no, right. $3.5 million, $4 or $5 million.
Yeah, exactly.
And his salary is...
So yeah, I agree with that as well. I mean, money, if they don't get the money they're looking for, they're not going to play. Then they do holdouts, and then they set out for the season. And I just feel that's why college football, to me, is a lot high scoring. It's just people are playing it for the game. They're not playing it for the money.
But even the economic aspect of that is changing, and before long, they're going to have to pay, because those college players, the really good ones, take a lot of risk as far as their potential for later earnings. Yeah. So they're going to get around to where they're going to have to make sure that if this star quarterback on the university team gets injured and can't go on to pro, that he has some potential future earnings or potential savings that he can fall back on.
Right. So the second part, I think, of this message sort of plays into that. It's asking about image and the fact that these sports, these athletes are role models, sometimes deliberately, but by default, and draws, a comparison between many sports and names that are very familiar, right? As this person was sharing, and is asking now that, in an essence, the impact. I probably should read it verbatim, but I guess taking later the situation and how we have differentiated between football and real football, but it's saying that all sports now are global, even if the sport itself. I mean, American football talk about the world champions when it's only played in one country, football as a World Cup is World Cup, but even that has its limitations relative to the qualification of the region. But that point aside, this listener is waiting saying that, you know, a sport being played in a particular country, if that person is sufficient international acclaim, can influence a child in a very remote part of the world because of the connectivity. And is saying, you know, to what extent is that influencing the image, the behavior, and the appeal for money, for prestige, as opposed to, and I wonder, I mean, the Joe Namaths, you know, the Montanas, the Marinos, for instance, you look at some of the other players, even before he became O.J. Simpson, the whatever, he was the juice.
Oh yeah. He was a big time college player and a big time sports player, and he was a big man.
I mean, look at Darryl Strawberry, for instance, right? Look at what Michael Jordan tried to do with, you know, what he did in basketball and what he tried to go to do with the other sport. Not the same thing, you know. And
well, it all comes down to the dollar. But we got another segment to get here, and I think we're going to pick up to where Donnie left off there. So Sue, if we can bring that one up. You know, tell us. I remember seeing your name splashed all over the Miami Herald sports page. Mike, it might have been front page when you threw that, what was it, the long 31, 45-yard half-bike pass? Because you played half-bike, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I was a pretty good athlete. I played defensive back, offensive back, and took punts and kickoffs. The only time I didn't play was when we kicked off for the other team. But things have changed now. I guess here in Tampa, the people are really, you know, I guess at one time in the 50s, that's how Miami in the 50s and 60s. Miami was big for drawing the sports talents out of there.
Right, yeah.
Living here in Tampa, boy, they've got, I guess with Florida and Florida State, so they've got some good talent around this area.
Didn't you? I'm sure you must have had some real good offers from some of the colleges, Florida State, Miami.
Yeah, I had University of Miami, Florida State, you know, talk to me and send me letters and stuff like that. But honestly, I tell you, I wasn't too interested in school, you know, and going on. So, but sometimes I think about it. I didn't miss much because I don't know what, you know, a different direction. I kind of feel I'm retired here in a retirement community in Tampa, and I feel like, you know, I didn't miss out on too much.
Well, just to give you a little background about Donnie, his parents from West Bay, they were born up there at the end of Bogasan Road, you know, and in fact some of the Caymanians around Miami at the time when you were, you know, playing excellent football, saying, you know, we think he's got some of that Bogasan dig in him.
Well, I tell you what, I was growing up in the 50s, there was like a Caymanian community around the area, you know. A lot of the people knew each other, and my mother was a real good cook, and they, I guess what they call a rundown.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And they would just, anything they could cook up to get to my mother's house or our house to eat, buddy. It was a big shindig.
Yeah, and
you know, when I played high school football, the coach would tell you, you know, tonight just eat something like Jell-O or something like that. And when I'd get home, my mother'd have a big fish too, or red beans and sea pie ready for me to eat. It didn't bother me. It was too good to not have it.
Well, Donnie, it was a pleasure talking with you on this C.I.RETRO program, giving the listeners just a little feel of, you know, Cayman's affinity with U.S. football over the years, and there were probably a number of other Caymanians down there doing the same thing. I think Raul wants to say something.
Yeah, Donnie.
Yeah.
I just want you to know one thing. No hard feelings, but I still hate Miami High.
Well, I remember, you know, on the other side of the Orange Bowl, I'd be going, "Go get them, Red Raiders, go get them."
Yeah, you darn right. What used to
you
get?
live out there in the islands now, huh?
Yeah, I retired down here, so I'm gonna spend the last days watching football. Tomorrow's the last one for about 7 months, but you know, here we go. But what used to get me at the Thanksgiving game was we'd be standing on the sideline on the other side, and the announcer would say, "Here come the Stingarees," and they just poured out of that dugout. I said, "Where in the Sam Hill did they get all these players?" I think they used to dress everybody in your district to come out. It was nice talking to you. I didn't know you were in Tampa, so I'll see you next time I come up that way.
All
Okay, good.
Okay, Donnie, we'll connect up with you later sometime. Thanks
Okay, thanks, Loxley. Appreciate it.
Okay, pal. Good.
And go Raiders.
Okay.
Is the connection Miami High Stingrays? Yeah.
And the thing about Miami High was you had the head custodian. It's a big school now, Miami High. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's a big school. The head custodian was Jim Reynolds from down here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was there for umpteen years.
Yeah.
And Donnie's dad, he was the night head custodian at Miami Beach Senior. So a lot of Caymanians work for the school system.
School districts.
But this rivalry we had was Miami High, Edison, Jackson, and Coral Gables. And I think to this day, we still hate each other when it comes to sports.
That's the way it should be.
I mean, that's
a rivalry is a rivalry.
I'm on this thing called the Over the Hill Gang for Miami Edison. And when it comes in and they show those pictures, and I still hate the Sting. I still hate the Cavaliers. I still can't stand them Generals.
You know the guy that's on game day. He went to Miami Jackson. He played football at Miami Jackson.
Okay. Corso.
Corso. Yeah.
He played for. He was a big time player for them, and he went to University of Florida. Or
yeah. I think he played the year that Jackson won the state championship. He played on really Cayman had I think a close affinity. Not many people realize it, but with the U.S. football over the years, and Donnie was one of the big stars in Miami, and I haven't been able to check this out, but I believe that some of the Archies, because Loxley Arch lived in Miami, and I believe some of them, one of those boys played for Jackson. I haven't been able to confirm it, but I'm almost sure. And you had one of those Birch Tree Hill, Boson Bay Roughnecks. You probably heard of his name, Claiborne Rivers. He was like Dickie and them, one of their cousins. Yeah, and he played high school football out in Texas, out in Port Arthur. He played. Well, I think he was a senior the year that Jimmy Johnson. They went to the same high school.
Okay.
Yeah. So but looking at Claiborne, he had a brother named Floyd, and going to the town hall school, probably right where the little bus shade is at now.
Mm-hmm.
There used to be a grassy knoll there, and the two of them at recess and lunchtime would go down there and wrestle one another in the grass. I mean, it was, and Roughnecks. They carved their name on the inside of their arm with maiden plum.
Yeah, I don't know if that's rough or crazy.
Well, yeah, I think it's
a bit of both.
My aunt, my old aunt, she was she cared for them quite a lot after their mom died, because their mom died when they were quite young. And I never forget one afternoon I went up there and they had just started to show, and she said to me, "Lucky, look at what them boys done. Go and look at their arms." She said, "I know they got to be from the generation of the wipers."
But that was an interesting conversation you just had, because I can tell you that I don't think there will be many Caymanians who were born like me, say the 70s and onward, that would have dreamt that you had Caymanians playing high school football down in the 40s, 50s, 60s in U.S. high schools. I think that's certainly a history lesson for a lot of people. I mean, I have, obviously these days, you have cousins and that sort of stuff that do play some football in the U.S. My cousin used to play some high school ball in Tampa. And then I had another cousin that was a good basketball player, never played on his high school team, used to play in the Parks, and his high school teammate was Dwight Gooden.
Oh, Dwight from the Mets.
Yeah, Dr. K.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, there's been a lot of guys that's played in more recent years, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, to hear a guy, and for you, Raul, I mean, I as long as I knew you, I heard you used to play football. I didn't realize you used to play organized football in the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
So
I never became a college player,
right?
Because
but
my
still.
calling was the Marine Corps,
right?
Because I joined before I was even out of high school. So, but I did play service ball. They call it 8-man ball instead of the regular 11-man field. So I've been football nut from the time I was probably about 10.
Right.
Speaking of that, do they still have a service championship? Because
no.
Some of the services besides Army and Navy, the lower echelon used to field football teams. In fact, Frank Kersey, you remember Frank Kersey? He coached Tampa to a national championship. College.
University of Tampa?
Small college one time. And then he went to University of Miami, and he stayed there 2 years and went to Kentucky. But he quarterback the Quantico, I think was
they had regular big time service ball, they called it, and they had I paid attention. They had a Quantico team, they had Camp Lejeune, Cherry Point, and these were actual big time college players and professional players that were in the service, and they played. I mean, it's the same with baseball, and Ted Williams and all those guys back in the day, they were on the service ball teams.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it's very. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't realize that a lot of these big players were, college, not just professional, but down in the lower ranks, they were big time players, and for the services. Yeah, they don't have it no more. They're talking about bringing it back, but I think what happened with the Marines, there was so many injuries that they kind of shelved it.
Well, a lot of meat in that segment. Donnie made a comment that the coach would tell him game eve, day before the game, go home, eat light, eat some belt jello or something like that, and he'd go home and his mom would have a big pot of beans and sea pie and corned beef, and but some very very interesting facts there. You heard mention service 8-man ball, but that's not like the 8-man ball of flag football. No, they were tackling. They were tackling. That was some serious stuff. But we've got another segment to go, and I think we'll try to get that in before news time, and then we're going to open the phone up to the listeners out there. You want to call in, you can call us, and we hopefully also to connect up with, we mentioned Teddy a while ago, connect up with him in this time frame. So, but I believe we got to do some little commercial work before that, and a reminder here that this special presentation of C.I.RETRO Talk Today is being brought to you by Number One Sports Shop. You can find all of your training needs, all of your sporting equipment needs, all of your sporting apparel needs. You can find it all at the Number One Sports Shop on Hospital Road, 62, I think is the number, 62, yes, Hospital Road, and I think it's called the Hospital Road Plaza. And also by Eats Cafe, Legends Classic Grill, and Yossi Sushi. Visit either one of them and you'll be able to enjoy a delicious meal, whatever your choice is. So, Sue, I guess commercial time, huh?
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Excuse me, I noticed you from afar.
Really? Me?
Well, not you. The KFC sandwich you're eating?
Oh, Zinger.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be funny.
No, it's called the Zinger Sandwich. Crunchy, juicy, 100% chicken breast, crisp lettuce, sweet mayo on a seeded bun with a little zing. KFC's chicken is not factory breaded, frozen and refried like the Burger Boys. Customize your KFC Zinger and dip it in barbecue sauce.
Wow, now I'm starting to notice you too.
KFC, it's finger licking good.
You can now book and pay online for your certified lateral flow test at www.hsa.ky/appointment. It's fast, easy, and convenient. Certified LFTs are $25 per test per person. HSA's testing center is located at 131 Center, McClendon Drive, behind Foster's Airport. Walk-ins for certified LFTs are also available. Need a PCR test for travel? These are now only $75. Visit hsa.ky/appointment for more information.
Due to the high number of COVID cases in the community, Water Authority Cayman is encouraging customers to conduct as much business as possible online or over the phone and avoid coming into the office. Need to pay a bill? You can do it online. Just visit our website, www.waterauthority.ky, and click on the Pay My Bill button. Are you experiencing service issues? Contact our customer service team via the phone on 949-2837 or email info@waterauthority.ky. Don't forget to practice good hygiene by washing your hands frequently with soap and water. For updates from the Water Authority, visit our website, www.waterauthority.ky, and our social media pages.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne EBANKS.
And we're back. We mentioned that we had a segment on place kickers, and they've become a real specialty in the American-style football. And this one is very interesting. In fact, it could be a little inspirational piece for all of those footballers out there really wanting to shine. And Susan, I guess we can go to that one now. That's segment 4. And this is actually a BBC presentation.
Hello and welcome to Sporting Witness from the BBC World Service with me, Alex Last. And today, ahead of the Super Bowl, we'll look at the job of the kicker, that pressurised, crucial, if often underappreciated specialty in American football, a position which often determines who will win or lose. As we hear the story of the Great Dane, Morten Andersen, a kicker who became an NFL Hall of Fame legend.
It is a position that's misunderstood and underappreciated, and I think it's time that we recognize it for what it is. Let's face it, if you look at the list of leading scorers in the history of the game, who occupies the first 20 spots? Kickers. If the point of the game is to score more points than the other team, to win the game, which is the only thing, then how can you not start understanding and recognizing that the kicker is maybe, besides the quarterback, one of the most important positions on the football team?
Morten Andersen was a kicker in the NFL for some 25 seasons. He's one of just a few kickers ever admitted to the NFL Hall of Fame. And yet, as a kid, Morten Andersen never dreamed of a career in American football, for he grew up in Denmark and only came to the US at the age of 17 on a school exchange.
There was no soccer team, so that was not an option. So my host family asked me, literally on my 17th birthday, the day I arrived to Indianapolis, would I be interested in being the high school kicker? I knew nothing about it, so I said, well, I'll try. And then the following day, I had a tryout in front of the whole team.
The kicker's job is rather unique in American football. They come on the field only fleetingly, usually to kick the extra point after a touchdown, or if the offence has stalled or run out of time, to attempt a three-point field goal. These kicks can often decide victory or defeat, and it's a precise drill. The two teams face off on the field where the last play ended, then the action restarts. The oval-shaped ball is snapped back 7 or 8 yards from the line of scrimmage, caught by a holder and placed upright on the ground for the kicker.
And then it's your job within 1.2 to 1.3 seconds from the snap to the kick to get that ball up over those 20 whatever guys and through some goalposts that are 18 feet 6 inches. A lot of things have to fit like fingers in a glove.
All this was new to Morton when he jogged out for his first tryout for the high school team at the age of 17. At first, he's rather sceptical about all the pads and helmets worn by the players.
First of all, is all this gear necessary? Do I have to wear a helmet and shoulder pads? Do I have to wear all this crap? And that became painfully obvious when the other guys started rushing towards me and trying to block the ball and kill me. And then, how do you get a ball that's not round in the air? I don't know. But the ball flew pretty high and far right away. And that's really when I think we all realized that there might be something here.
Morton became a star kicker and won a scholarship to Michigan University and then went professional, selected in the NFL draft by the New Orleans Saints in 1982. He had a tricky start, marred by injury, but it soon became clear that Morton Anderson was exceptional. Still, in the NFL, there's not a lot of patience for failure, especially for kickers who are routinely fired and replaced. So when they jog onto the field just seconds before their kick, there's a lot on the line.
It's so mental. I mean, there are a lot of guys out there, and I counted over 600 guys trying to take my job in the NFL. And they're all physically very gifted and talented and can kick the ball a long way on Wednesday and Thursday. But when the lights come on Sunday, for those 3 hours, for some reason, the majority of those guys fall by the wayside. It's also being able to focus in a short period of time, because most of your time is spent on the sideline, and then it's interrupted by moments of terror for many people. Having to kick a game-winning field goal, I loved it because I owned it. But you have to be able to embrace the world of suck, and that's really what it is. It's when let's say you missed 2 kicks in the first half and now you're asked to hit a game winner.
So how do you cope with that? Do you have certain routines that you follow?
Yeah, there were verbal cues and breathing techniques. So for me, to move on to the next situation, it was the crumbling of the Gatorade cup. Take a drink, crumble the cup, throw it in the trash. That kick's in the trash, now it's gone. Can't have it back, good or bad. We're on to the next one. Leaves the foot, leaves the mind.
Morton got the nickname the Great Dane and was selected by his fellow players to make the elite Pro Bowl 7 times. And at the age of 38, now playing for Atlanta, he was brought on to kick a field goal in overtime to win the NFC Championship game and sent his team to the Super Bowl. It was a scenario he'd mentally prepared for.
The night before in the hotel when I did my visualization rehearsals, the very last kick was 38 yards left hash in overtime to win the game. So when I got in the game, having to kick a 38-yard game-winning field goal, I was just like, wow, this is fate, I guess. And then, of course, I saw all my teammates on their knees holding hands and praying, and I said, well, they're not driving the car here, obviously. I'm driving the car. I knew that we were going to the Super Bowl. I just didn't tell anybody. That kick was made the night before.
But in the Super Bowl itself, Atlanta lost. And in his 40s, Anderson went on to play for the New York Giants, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Minnesota Vikings. And each year, he was getting closer to breaking the all-time NFL record for points scored by a single player. But in 2005, he found himself out of work.
I was very confident that I was going to get a phone call and to be able to play my 24th year. At this point, I was only 77 points away from becoming the all-time leading scorer in the game, so it was there for the taking.
But the phone call never came. Still, he was determined that his playing career wasn't over and kept training in the local park.
I was in a public park 4 times a week with my trainer. I had my outfit on, my Kenny Stabler shoulder pads. I had my Saints helmet on. And little leaguers needed the field. I would have to defer and get off the field. It was very humbling. It was humiliating. And people looked at me and said, Morton, you're absolutely crazy. You're nuts. What are you doing? Get on with your life. But I was stubborn, and I felt it was the right kind of stubborn, It was rooted in a realistic sense of how good I was still.
Then one day he was at home drinking beer, watching his old team Atlanta play on TV.
I was sitting in the basement watching the Falcons, and the kicker had a bad day, and I told my buddy Eric, I'm switching to water now. The phone's going to ring. This guy's terrible. They need to make a change. And he goes, not gonna. Phone hasn't rang for 20 months. I said, I know, but it's going to ring, and it did ring, and that's when I went in and tried out, and there were 4 other guys half my age. I call them flat bellies because, that's what they were. We were mano a mano for 15 kicks, and I won the job and hit a bunch down the middle and turned around, and I felt pretty good about it. I said, any questions, anybody? And I signed a 1-year deal.
And just months later, playing for Atlanta, the historic moment came. By kicking an extra point, he would break the league's all-time scoring record of 2,434 points.
In the Georgia Dome, I became the all-time leading scorer. My holder, Matt Schaub, the backup quarterback, we were going to do an imaginary cigar thing, and I ended up just wrapping my legs around him, which was kind of weird, but emotion got the most of me, and the team cleared the sideline. It was a nice moment. They stopped the game briefly, gave me a game ball, and I had a chance to go and give my son the jersey. You know, it's one of those moments that are fleeting and fast, but wonderful, obviously, because you just made history. And you know you don't do it alone. I mean, a lot of people come along for that ride, for sure.
Morten Andersen finally retired in 2008 at the age of 48. And though his points record was eventually broken, he still holds a litany of other records. And in 2017, he was inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame. And so, when we look at the kicker walking out for a pressure kick in the Super Bowl, what should we be looking for?
I look at their eyes. You can usually tell in the eyes where that guy is mentally. But I think you should just appreciate this is a very difficult skill to master. You know, we used to have, on Saturday, everybody wanted to kick a field goal in practice. And nobody could do it, and a few of them would pull hamstrings, and it was not good. So I think as a fan, you should think of how easy they make it look and how difficult it actually is.
Morten Andersen ending this edition of Sporting Witness with me, Alex Last.
And I think that is a little lesson in, you could call it mental, from the mental aspect, preparation, patience, and perseverance, I guess, you know, and I think that's what it takes to, well, actually to succeed in any sports at a high level. You know, it's a lot of dedication, and it's hopefully that those folks some of those young folks listening and hear it, it will inspire them in some way, whatever form of sports that they're in. And I remind you here that this program will be presented or repeated in an edited form on Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock. So those of you that are not listening and heard about it, you can retune to Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock. It's coming up to news time pretty much, and we remind you here that this special presentation of C.I.RETRO Talk Today is being brought to you by the #1 sports shop. They have a great selection of sporting goods from Nike and Puma, training tops, compression tops and bottoms, shoes, and even slippers for after that relaxing period after the game. Also, they have a wide selection of men and women sports apparel. #1 sports shop, 62 Hospital Road. And you can call them at 949-5595. The program is also being brought to you by Legends Classic Grill, Eats Cafe, and Yossi Sushi. And for a good meal, visit them. They're located in the Falls Shopping Center on West Bay Road. And we're coming up now to news time again, and we'll be back with another gentleman guest from the flag football arena, who hopefully he'll be able to join us. And those listeners want to participate by telephone, you can give us a call. Pipe in here. News time.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins. On Thursday, February 10th, a 21-year-old man was charged with aggravated burglary and related offenses after his arrest on Tuesday, February 8th, in relation to a burglary that took place Tuesday, February 1st, on Anne Bonny Crescent in South Sound. In international news, roughly 3,000 teachers, firefighters, and other New York City workers face losing their jobs Friday after failing to get vaccinated against coronavirus by the city's deadline. New York City Mayor Eric Adams said he would not change the rules despite the city facing many days of protests since his predecessor announced the policy last year. More than 95% of staff have complied. Opponents say the requirements violate their freedom. French President Emmanuel Macron refused a Russian COVID test ahead of his meeting with Russia's Vladimir Putin, the Kremlin has confirmed. The test required a health protocol that was unacceptable and did not fit with the French leader's schedule, a French source told the BBC. It follows reports that Mr. Macron refused the PCR test over fears the Russians would get hold of his DNA. Researchers believe there may be a planet that could sustain life in the vicinity of a dying sun. If confirmed, this would be the first time that a potentially life-supporting planet has been found orbiting such a star called a white dwarf. The planet was detected in the star's habitable zone, where it's neither too cold nor too hot to sustain life. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky. From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. For all occasions and celebrations, let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
The chairman of the Liquor Licensing Board would like to remind liquor license holders in the bar and nightclub categories that there is to be no music and or no dance permitted on Sundays. The Royal Cayman Islands Police Service will be monitoring all businesses to ensure that they are following the requirements and conditions on their licenses. Non-compliant businesses could result in prosecution or the non-renewal of licenses. For more details, please contact the Department of Commerce and Investment on 244-2287, 244-6677, or email enforcement@dci.gov.ky. A couple means two. Whether it's your spouse, significant other, or bestie, couples who sweat together stay together. King Sports Center is offering a gym and bowling special this Valentine period. Get 2 annual Powerhouse Gym memberships for $750 starting from February 6th and ending on the 14th. Receive a free self-defense class for 2 upon purchase. At Kingpin Bowling, couples can get 2 games and 2 glasses of wine for only $40. The bowling offer is from February 11th to the 13th only. For more info, call us at 946-5464. That's 946-5464. King's Sports Center, your second home for fitness and recreation, celebrating 20 years of service.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne EBANKS.
And we're back. And a reminder here that this special presentation of C.I.RETRO Talk Today is being brought to you by the #1 sports shop, a great place for you to do shopping for all of your sporting needs. And by Eats Cafe, Legends Classic Grill, and Yossi Sushi. You can find anything you like right there as far as good meal, good food, and pleasant service. They're located in the Fall Center on the West Bay Road. And, talking Cayman's affinity to U.S. football, and the Super Bowl is coming up on Sunday, and joining us now on the telephone and in the studio also, we have Teddy Hides on the telephone remotely, and he's been involved in Cayman Islands flag football for a long time. Teddy, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Lux. Good afternoon to you and the panel.
Teddy, I'm curious. Did you you went to high school in Florida?
Yep, I did.
Yeah, South Dade.
Yeah. No, I went to the Homestead High School.
Homestead High School. Okay. So, did you play a little football over there or not?
No. I played the pickup game, but never on the high school team.
Okay. Yeah. In other words, you kind of probably played down there in the farm fields of Redlands, huh?
Yeah, or on the street right in front of my house,
Yeah.
On mailboxes and whatnot. So.
Okay, and Kathy Miller is also joining us here in the studio, and she's had a long affiliation with flag football here in Cayman. Welcome, Kathy. She's one of the sales folks around here.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me, and hello, Teddy, as well. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Kathy.
Teddy, what's up? You good?
Yeah, who's this?
It's Dino.
Oh, Dino, what's up, buddy?
Go back sometime.
Well, Teddy, maybe you can, because I know you were one of the forming members of the flag football operation here in Cayman. So give us about a 87-second version of that. The formation.
Well, flag football started here. I moved back to the islands in 1991, and we used to do a lot of pickup games. Started the rugby pitch every Sunday evening. Then when the sun would go down, we would head on down to West Bay at the West Bay Primary School field. They had lights down there. We would play down there. So we done that for a few years, and then Marcus Cumber from the Rugby Association, he sent out a request out, advertisement saying if anyone wants to be involved in American flag football. So we contacted him, and from there we started playing a regular schedule every summer at the rugby pitch in South Sound for a couple of years with teams and everything. I mean, everything was pretty much organized. They had their uniforms, their T-shirts at the time, but uniforms, and then we decided to make it an association. And it started there. We brought in some other members of the association, people like Austin Harris, Chuck Duty, and we began the association.
Yeah, I believe Ralston Anglin was also involved in that.
Ralston used to play with the pickup teams and stuff like that down in the before we got to association. And then he came out there and gave us support and whatnot while we became association. And then it went on to we started getting real with it. I mean, you had teams that were getting uniforms, and we were getting we had trophies, and we had so it was getting to be really big. And then we actually the women became involved. Can't remember the exact year, but a few years later, which added another element to the sport, and it just kind of kept progressing from there. We had so now we're at the point where we have the men's league, the women's league, we have the kids league, which is it's Phil Brown is the president for that. He's the one who organizes that, and then we have the co-ed league, which goes on. I think it's on now actually in February, March next week. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it pretty much evolved to a year-round sport, you know, and it can be that way because we're lucky enough that we live on an island that has perfect weather pretty much year-round, so we can utilize that.
Well, Dean, I think, mentioned a bit earlier that there's probably, what you're saying, upwards of 600, 600, 800 people?
Yeah, now with all the leagues combined, we're seeing with kids and everything coming out, it's really picked up to the point where, you know, we want to keep seeing more and more. The more the merrier. Well,
as you heard, Teddy, we got Kathy here in the studio. And Kathy, your involvement, how long, you know, were you involved in flag football?
I started the year that they introduced the women's teams. So when the women's league came around, that's when I started. And I remember, I guess it was introductory for us, and it was kind of by Outpost Road, the field there. I can't
Triple C, behind the Triple C school.
Yeah,
right.
so
Academy field.
And that's where they had some drills set up, and they were getting the women more interested and understanding the game a little bit. And it was so interesting because it felt like tryouts, like serious tryouts for something. And then we began with, I think it was the 5-man team or 5-women team, and that progressed to 7, and then it went into 8, and I think
still at 8.
It's still at 8, yeah. And so I don't know how many years I was involved, but probably at least 7 or 8 years.
A long time.
Yeah, 7 or 8 years.
You enjoyed it?
I loved it. I loved playing. I'm a very competitive person when it comes to sports. I've played sports my whole entire life, so I absolutely loved it. It was a lot of fun, and it was well organized.
Yeah,
as a referee, Cassie and I, we had our differences because as a referee, you know, you don't make a lot of friends on the field. You're the person that is, and you can ask Teddy about that too. Teddy, good memories, huh?
You guys would take a beating from us.
You would take a beating, but at the end of the day, it's just, you know, it's competitive as it is. But you
called me the wrong name, so you have to tell people why we didn't get along. We were calling you Stacy for years.
I thought she was upset with me at the field, let alone I was calling her Stacy for 3 seasons.
Yes, or so, yes. So it's great to see, especially with the kids league. It's great to see how flag has progressed.
Well,
a lot of opportunities have come out of it.
I'm curious, in your introduction, did they have you pushing the strength sledge around, or
the strength sledge, like the
big old thing you put your shoulder up against?
Those things that you run into, I don't know what they're called. No, that only came from what I remember when it was the women training for a team to go, a national team to go overseas. Okay. They introduced that in a couple of sessions.
You know, in some of the segments before, we had Amaris Smith, I think was her name, who played on the national team.
She still does.
Amaris, yeah.
Talking about it, yeah.
Yeah, she was a teammate. We were teammates together, actually, for a few years.
And, you know, the phones are open if some of you folks would like to participate in this discussion. Now, Sunday, Super Bowl.
Oh, yes.
The Rams and the Bengals.
The moment of truth.
The Rams are winning. I'm just going to put that out there right now. The Rams are winning. Valentine's Day is canceled because it is now known as Rams Celebration Day.
Cassie and I don't agree on many things, but it looks like we found common ground with this one.
You, Stacy?
We did.
Stacy, yeah, sorry. We found common ground.
I'm to the point where I just want to see a good game. You know, it's been a great playoff. You know, we in the divisional rounds, we had 3 games that were decided by a field goal. The last game of the 4 was decided by a touchdown in overtime.
Right.
So they were really putting on a good show. And then, of course, in the NFC Championship and the AFC Championship, both of those games came down to the last minute.
Field goals.
Yeah, field goals again, and we were just looking for if the Super Bowl teams can live up to the way they played in the playoffs and play the way they should play, we should have a good game.
Absolutely. But Teddy, you said you're looking forward to a good game. We all are, and I think we know we're going to get that. But who are you? I can't say betting. So who are you hoping is going to win?
Come on, Teddy, you got to have a team in mind.
Well, I think the Rams would stand. They're at home. Although the home field advantage for them is not that great, but they're at home in their own surroundings before the Super Bowl, not traveling in and whatnot. And the Rams did play a better better teams throughout the playoffs, and they have a really good defense and a good offense. So, and Cincinnati is young, so they have some time to develop and come back, hopefully. But I think the Rams have the advantage, and they're favorites in the betting world, you want to say. So. And
they were just there a couple years ago, right? In the Super Bowl.
Yeah, correct. But they had the experience as well.
Excuse me, the Patriots won that Super Bowl. Thank you very much.
Yes, but I believe it was the Rams were undefeated going into the Super Bowl and should have won.
Can I inject here?
Yes,
absolutely.
Are you all? And we talked about a little mental preparation here from that last segment that we had. About place kickers. But are you all preparing yourself for a little mental surprise, maybe?
Maybe, but I do think that this is gonna. I think that the Super Bowl, and it was interesting, that segment. It was a great segment that we had on the kickers, because I think the Super Bowl will come down to a kicker.
Yes.
I think that this Super Bowl will be won by a field goal.
Oh,
absolutely, 100%. I think it's gonna follow suit to the playoffs, and I think we're gonna have a game-winning field goal either in overtime or with no time left on the clock.
It's going to be very close for sure.
I'm not sure whether you've picked it up, but over the last, very recent, I'd say, over the last, within the playoff time frame here, there's some people who are referring to Joe Burrows as the new Joe, Broadway Joe. You remember him?
I remember him, and I can see it happening. I can see with the style that Joe Burrow is and the style that Namath was and still is. I think that I can see those two. I can see maybe Joe Burrow had him as an idol growing up. It wasn't his time, though, because I think by the time Joe was retiring, Joe Burrow was just born.
Yes,
roughly.
Yes.
So.
And he's having a great year. He just picked up the comeback player of the year last night, I believe. Teddy, did you get to watch any of that?
I watched some of it and heard about it. But I mean, he also done it in college as well, right? He done it at LSU. He went he went over to LSU to
from
football and
from Ohio State. He transferred to LSU.
Ohio State.
But
from Ohio State to LSU, and he led the LSU Tigers to a championship. So he has the pedigree there.
Right. But do you know that his two top choice of when he was transferring from Ohio State was the University of Miami or LSU, and LSU somehow attracted him there.
Didn't know that.
I think he admitted that had he stayed at Ohio State, he would not be in the NFL today. And he credits LSU so much for where he is right now. So that's a beautiful thing to hear.
Yeah, I suppose it'll come down from his perspective anyway. One of the wisest decisions he has ever made.
I think if he went to Miami, he wouldn't be in the NFL either. But
No. I think had he went to Miami at that point, he could have been almost in the same position that he is now.
Probably.
Yeah. Because the year before that, Miami had went 11 or 12-1.
Yeah.
So
they were playing some good football at that point in time.
Yes. Yeah. but you all are banking on the Rams, and I think it would be nice to see Stafford really accomplish a Super Bowl victory.
Well, the thing is,
that's another aspect, right? You have a lot of, like I said, a lot of veterans on the Rams. You have people like Stafford, Odell Beckham Jr. You have Aaron Donald, which is one of the most dominant players in the league. That's never won a championship. So they have some more deserving people, but hey, it's a game, so we'll see who wins.
I don't know if you all know, but actually Joe Namath was traded from the Jets to the Rams. I believe he played maybe one. Well, he was on the team at least 1 or 2 years.
No, should be interesting. Should be very.
My guy is Odell Beckham Jr. So this is why I want the Rams to win. I have followed him since his rookie year, 2014. I will be wearing his Giants jersey come this Sunday because I'm really celebrating him to win. I really want that guy to get a ring.
Yeah, that's it. Deserving.
All right. Well, we do have a caller online around the table. Mr. Loxley, Kathy, aka Stacy, together.
No, it's just Kathy.
Let's call him Martin.
Call him Martin.
Of course, Taylor Theodore on the phone. Let's go to the other line. Good afternoon and welcome.
Hello.
How are you?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I just pressed the tail end of your conversation. They talking about Joe Burrow and LSU and all that. And as a LSU man,
there you go.
Support a LSU ex-student. I just want to correct something with Locks said about Joe Burrow. His choices when he went transferring were Miami and LSU. It was Cincinnati.
Well, okay, that's your version.
And LSU, because of his daddy's connection with Cincinnati or something.
Okay.
But anyway,
I heard this too.
Well, he ended up in Cincinnati one way or another.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He ended up in Cincinnati.
And that's when he came down to the bayou and they treated him with crawfish and then on the rest of his history.
Southern hospitality.
But anyway, and talking about LSU, there's quite a few LSU boys in this on both teams. Cincinnati got like 4, and the Rams got 2.
Yep.
One-on-one player, Walter Payton award last night. Andrew Whitworth, ex-LSU man, and OBJ.
Yep.
So, and it would be nice to see him get a ring too, and Matthew Stafford. Cause he's been a long time, but I still go with Cincinnati.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. And Joe Cool and the boys, and I think they're gonna pull the upset too.
All right.
Never underestimate Joe Burrow.
All right, I'm sure.
Mark you, Los Angeles they got defensive line there, Aaron Donald and Von Bell, especially. But I still think, in spite of that, Joe will find a way.
Well,
if him and Jamar can get hot, sorry for the Rams.
I think he just might freeze.
Anyway, that's what I start by that little thing about when his choices of transferring. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
You got one of the best cornerbacks covering Jamar Chase too. So Jalen Ramsey's.
Yes.
I don't think he's gonna have any of Jamar Chase. I think it's gonna be a good battle. But
you don't think that maybe the difference in this whole scenario will be Cooper Kupp?
Oh, Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is.
He won Offensive Player of the Year, didn't he?
Should have won MVP. But he will be the playmaker.
He's absolutely incredible. It's a team effort, so it's going to be everybody out there that's got to do their best. I think experience, it was Teddy who mentioned it, will be one of the deciding factors. And again, Rams were just there a few years ago. Was it 2017, I think?
2018, I think.
2017 or 18, and yes, we heard you say the Patriots won that year. So we're, very experienced. Tom Brady was there then, and they choked. Rams definitely choked. It was very disappointing. So I don't think they're going to let go of that this time. It's a great. I think Joey Burrows is going to do absolutely amazing in his career. This is the first time apparently that a quarterback in his second year. This is his second year in the NFL.
Yes.
Has ever made it to the Super Bowl, and the first time that a quarterback 13 seasons in is going to the Super Bowl. So it's such a different dynamic there, such an opposite of dynamics there. So it should be a great game. I'm so looking forward to this.
Yeah, well, Stafford was with Detroit for the 13 years. I think he had one playoff game at Detroit. He was always a good quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes he can be a little off, inconsistent, and it's going to come down to I think to the pressure that each of the quarterbacks have to look into, what they see coming around the left end, down the middle, off tackle, and as Dean mentioned, it probably will come down to the last man standing with the ball and the field goal kicker. Now, you got to remember, I think with the Bengals, Cincinnati, their kicker is a rookie out of Florida.
But he's one of the best in the league.
Yes, he really one of the best in the league, and he has shown some real old people, as the old folks say, some belly bottom, over the last all season.
I don't think he's missed a kick in the playoffs, has he? I think he's...
No, and he's kicked, I think, Teddy, I believe he had a 51-yarder.
Yep, he was in the 50s quite a amount of times in the playoffs. And
wow.
He's very...
And I love what he said to his coach before he went out both times to kick the game-winning field goal. He said to his coach the first time, he said, well, coach, looks like we're going to the AFC Championship.
Right.
Then went out, kicked the field goal. And then same thing happened in the AFC Championship. He went to his coach before he kicked the field goal, and he said, well, coach, looks like we're going to the Super Bowl.
Right.
So I wonder if he's going to do the same thing if he goes out for a game-winning field goal, if he's going to tell his coach if he's won the Super Bowl.
And I think we've got somebody else on the telephone now, or maybe it's a caller joining us. Hello?
Yeah, Lox?
Yes.
I just want to clarify that a while ago when I said the choice was Cincinnati. I mean the University of Cincinnati,
Yeah, no, we recognize that.
But not Cincinnati, the pro team that he played with. Yeah, it was University of Cincinnati. Yeah.
Well, they've had a great year this year, didn't they?
Yep. They had a Bearcat. Had a very good year.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Yeah. So, I think the general consensus, I don't know, I haven't heard Sterling DWAYNE, who he thinks is going to hoist the trophy.
We still need your guys' predictions. We've said who. Right. I think the Rams are going to win 34-31 with a game-winning field goal, but I haven't heard from them.
I confess, I want to watch the Super Bowl for two reasons. One, the commercials, and two, the fact that there's food, So I assemble with friends and family, and but for the imprisonment that have been imposed on the world's populace, we can't even do that these days. But we can still eat. Hopefully that'll change between now and midnight. But
so Teddy, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still there.
So you're if you had an egg fruit that you were gonna bet, you'd bet it on the Rams.
Yeah, I think so. Being at home with the veteran leadership and the the defense line and the defense in general they have, I think they stand a good chance of winning the game.
I'm gonna go with Cincinnati.
Yeah, I know you want it to be a little different there, DWAYNE, so it's okay. That's all right.
Me and my other friend from the
It's no fun when everyone's going for the same team.
That's what I say, man. But Cincinnati, WKRP.
WCKY.
Yeah, I got you.
So me and my other friend, we'll pick Cincinnati. I mean, if you can be a loyal Bucks fan, you can do anything.
Or a loyal Dolphins fan.
Teddy,
that's even a bigger stretch.
Teddy, it just came to mind. Your dad and I, and this was when we were growing up. We used to get up sometime early in the morning to listen to WCKY in Cincinnati. Listen to the radio, just so we could hear some cowboy music.
Speaking of the music tip, it is going to be one of the best halftime shows, in my opinion, ever. This is where hip-hop is winning. I'm so excited for the halftime show. So.
But they're not going to have enough time to do anything,
They're going to have
shine.
You got 30 minutes. We are good. This is going to be Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar, Eminem. This is going to be an amazing...
And Martha Stewart.
In L.A.
Snoop Dogg and Martha.
I have no... She's baking the...
she's
baking all the cakes and cookies for people.
She's making people so that this would be truly a halftime show.
That's right.
Forget the Super Bowl. I forget the Super Bowl. I forgot about the halftime show.
Right?
I think that's gonna win the.
It's gonna be amazing.
The show. That's gonna
be a great Super Bowl period.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's what Dwayne was saying earlier. That it's the commercials and the food, but then also the halftime show is like a mini concert. So
yeah, man. And there's going to be some wardrobe malfunctions, but that's a different story.
Honestly, I haven't been that impressed with the Super Bowl commercials last year and the year before. I think everyone was expecting it to be funny, but last year and I know the year before for sure they took a more serious turn with it, and I don't know if they really succeeded the way they want to, because I mean I get it, you're trying to get your point across, but like DWAYNE said, everyone looks forward to the Super Bowls, and if you have serious and sad commercials, then it takes away from the fun.
Well, I think it's been very interesting hearing from Teddy. Thanks for joining us. And, of course, the other callers online. And Kathy, thanks for jumping in here. And
thanks for having me.
Hopefully, as I said,
Go Rams!
You're preparing for a surprise, I think.
I'm preparing to have a winning Sunday and a celebratory Monday.
And Dean, thank you, and good
Thanks
luck with all the your endeavors with the Flag Football League. And it sounds like a lot of young folks in Cayman are flag footballing. And,
Absolutely.
And DWAYNE?
Yes, sir. Well, Mr. Loxley, I say this publicly and sincerely and with the greatest of respect. I was telling Dean earlier as we were, waiting for the program to start. It's always honored to sit with you. I'm reminded of the history, but also the nature in which we live, love, laugh, and learn. And through you, not just a purpose, a passion, but a genuine plan. I mean, you put together this show, you create it, you produce it, and we sit here. And it's not just that I joke and jest that you do all the heavy lifting. It brings you back to a time. We were reminded that football, is an American sport, but is enjoyed globally. And in the Cayman community, football, as Lee and I will say, real football. But when you come to American football, Sunday, I don't say this to be facetious nor disrespectful. The fact that many people have been reminded, and I use this as an opportunity to remind us to be sensible. There are these regulations in place, and unless they change between now and then, please, be mindful that there are sanctions that could be enforced and heavily penalized.
It's being heavily promoted on this station.
Right. So, we can argue as to whether they should be or not be, but they are. So let's do so. And in that celebration, let's be civil, let's enjoy it, let's be responsible. And, if it's as the Bengals, well, they shall emerge victorious, Ms. Loxley.
Well, yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Just to add one thing onto that, I'd like to remind the public as well that the Cayman Islands Flag Football Association is following all government protocols regarding COVID. So we are making sure that there's not more than 250 people in the stadium. You are, if you want to wear a mask, you can. It's not required because it's an outdoor event. But if you feel more safe playing in a mask, you're more than welcome to wear one as well. So we are following all the government guidelines.
Well, thank you all for joining us. And all's left now for us to remind you that this special presentation of C.I.RETRO talk today on the affinity of U.S. football to Cayman, or Cayman's affinity to U.S. football, was brought to you by the #1 Sports Shop. And you can visit the #1 Sports Shop for all your training needs, sports training needs, or whatever, sporting goods or sporting apparel that you might need. And by Yossi Sushi and Legends Classic Grill and Eats Cafe. And we thank them for their participation in this program and the other folks' commercials, of course, that you heard. So I guess it's all left for us to say adieu, and thanks to Susan over there on the controls and the knobs and the whatever else that she has to deal with there. Good job, Sue. And this program, as we told you before, will be repeated on Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock in an edited form, of course. And of course, you can listen in if you missed it. Those of you, I'm sure you'll hear about it, and then you can watch the Super Bowl at 6:30. I think. I'm not sure what is it on Fox.
That's correct. I don't know the channel it's on, but
NBC.
NBC, and well, being on NBC, I'm not sure what's going to happen. Anyway,
I don't know if it's on NBC in Cayman, but it's on NBC.
Okay. Oh, good afternoon.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Cayman.
The voice